My name's Jordan Young. I'm a track and field thrower from Canada. For over a decade, I've been working to understand every aspect of throwing. I'm an athlete, which means the only way to be great is through raw hard work and determination. This is my story. I'm going to be taking on one of athletics' biggest challenges, the Olympic Games. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of JY Throws. In today's video, I want to take a look at the difference between a non-reverse throw, where you keep your feet on the ground on the finish of the throw, and a reverse throw, where you're intentionally driving up and jumping into the finish, so that I can explain to you guys some things that I'm working on in my own training. But before we get into the technical side of things, I want to quickly take a look at some other progress that I've been making in my training. The first category that I wanted to talk about is my strength. And I just finished up my first 4-week lifting cycle of this year. And in the first 4 weeks, I've seen some great progress in my strength. So since it's my first lifting cycle of the year, I've just been trying to slowly build up in every exercise, making sure that I'm not pushing myself too hard right away, because I want to make sure that I'm taking the time to strengthen my joints and my tendons so that I can avoid injuries later on in the year. So since I'm now done this lifting cycle, this upcoming week I have a rest week, and then next week I'll begin my next 4-week lifting cycle. And once I have that from Martin, I'll update you guys on what I'm doing. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on strength because it's one of those things that you kind of do in the background, and there's no shortcut to getting strong. You just have to go to the weight room, push yourself, and with consistent training, you'll see consistent strength gains. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is the progress that I've made on my injuries. It's nice to see that everyone with some back issues is starting to climb some stairs, and it's really one of the most helpful things for strength. And I'm so shocked that over years of back injuries, no one said anything about doing stairs before. So super happy that we got it now, but I'm about to hit another 40-minute stair session. Got the weight vest I'm gonna put on and try to survive this thing. And since I began using a weight vest, I've built up to 60 pounds. And the hardest part now is that over the course of 40 minutes, my traps start to get really tired. But every day that I'm wearing the vest, it's getting more and more comfortable. So I'm just gonna continue to work on this every day. And so far, I can really feel the strength improvement in my back and my legs. And also on days that I wake up and I'm a little bit sore and a little bit tight, once I do the stairs and it warms everything up and gets everything nice and activated, I feel better for the whole day. I next want to move on to the technical portion of this video. But first I want to say, if you guys enjoyed this video or find yourself learning something along the way, if you could do me a favor, hit that like button so we can get it out to as many throwers as possible. It really does help the YouTube algorithm recommend it to more throwers. Anyway, the first thing I want to cover is the main differences between a non-reverse and a reverse discus throw. So the first obvious difference I mentioned before, and that's that on the non-reverse, your feet stay down on the ground, and on the reverse, you're intentionally jumping on the finish. But here's why they do that. Pay attention to Robert Harding's hips. They stay nice and rotational throughout the whole throw, and on the finish, they rotate and stay nice and level, and the middle knee stays bent, creating an incredibly long throwing radius. So the hips rotate nicely, but stay level throughout the whole throw, and the middle knee stays bent, giving him that nice long radius. Where if we look at Alekna, his hips also stay nice and rotational, but he drives up on the finish, sacrificing some of his radius, but he's also releasing the disc from a higher point. So you can see everything stays nice and rotational, but on the finish, he's driving up with those hips. Now, if we look at the thrower side by side, you can really start to see some of the differences. Notice how long Harding's throwing radius is. And by getting a nice block and rotating long around that, he creates this really long radius. Compared to Alekna with a shorter radius, but he's also releasing the disc from a higher point. And a non-reverse like Robert Harding is what you're ideally trying to do in your discus throw. You want to keep that nice long radius. And in this particular case of the 2012 Olympics, the non-reverse won. But if you can combine that long radius like Harding with some more linear drive like Alekna, then you can see some nice benefits from a reverse. So I want to take a look at Daniel Stahl, and this is something that he does incredibly well, is he gets a nice block and keeps an incredibly long throwing radius, but he's also driving up on the finish, and he's combined the best of both worlds, and that's why he's one of the top throwers in the world right now. And again, if we compare that to Alekna, you can see the difference in the radius. And another example I want to show you guys is Frederick, and again, he's one of the best throwers in the world right now, and you can see him doing a great job as well of getting a nice long radius, rotating around that block side, but he's also driving up on the finish, so he's getting the extra benefit of a higher release. The next thing I want to share with you guys is one of the most crucial parts of a full throw, and that's that you can only accelerate and implement while you have both feet on the ground.
With that said, you want both of your feet on the ground as long as possible so that you have the most time possible to accelerate the implement. So you'll notice on all the best reverse throwers in the world that they keep both feet on the ground until they release the implement. So the reverse is just a result of the hips rotating and driving up into the finish. They're not jumping before or during the throw. After they release, the momentum of their hip driving up and into the throw carries that hip through, causing it to look like a jump. One of the most common mistakes when people start to reverse is they jump before the release. And instead of staying on the ground and putting force into the implement, once you start to jump, the disc is actually slowing you down. So if we take a look at a bunch of the top throwers in the world, you can see that whether they non-reverse or they reverse, both feet are on the ground when they release the implement. And when you're trying to reverse, you're just trying to put more vertical force into the throw. And after you release the implement, to stay in the circle, you switch your feet. So now I want to take a look at my own throws from this past week. And watching it back, I'm pleased with how my hips stay nice and rotational throughout the whole throw. And right before I release the disc, you can see that I've kept a decently long radius. My hips are driving up and into the throw, but you can see that my foot's starting to come off the ground a bit. And this is only my second practice, so over time, that's what I'm going to work on, is making sure that I'm getting a nice block, keeping a long radius, and then I want to rotate all the way into the finish and stay on the ground until I release the implement. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully after today's video, you guys have a better understanding of why people reverse in the discus throw and understand some key positions to consider while reversing. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, subscribe for more. I'll be back as soon as possible with the next video.